You're listening to the Coop Homeschool Podcast.
This is your podcast for community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Jessica.
And this is The Coop.
Today we have another homeschool hack for you, audiobooks.
I love these homeschool hacks.
I know, me too. And so we're going to share all about how audiobooks can be a real lifesaver.
They are. They really are.
But before we jump in, Mandy, what's your scoop on the Coop?
Well, I got COVID.
Yes, you did.
And it was intense for me with having the lung issue and all that stuff. And so I was definitely quarantined in my room away from the kids for 10 days. And although my husband called it my COVID-cation.
Yeah.
I did binge watch a ton of shows. It wasn't fun.
No, you could have used that time a lot better.
I could have, yeah. I had 2 productive days out of the 10. But what was really awesome was my husband not only served me well in helping me with food and whatever I needed, he also served the family well as a homeschool dad.
That's awesome.
So he worked from home, which is so nice now because everything's set up for that. But he worked from home, and then on his breaks, he would do like 1 or 2 lessons a day of Latin. He would do reading aloud at any time of the day,
right,
all the way into the night. And he would also make sure they did their music.
That's awesome.
And so to me, that was great enough.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they were outside playing, and now that my youngest is 7, it's much more doable to be sick. And I didn't even need to tap into the sick bin. And we've talked about the sick bin before, but I didn't even need to tap into that, like in the gifts and stuff, because like it wasn't even on my mind to do that. And or to pull out the Mad Libs and stuff that they've never seen. None of that, because they were occupied.
Right.
And, one daughter was typing a book and making, they were all making movies and editing their movies. And it was a great homeschool 10 days for them.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and they didn't even realize they were, when we said I was coming back to the world and I was going to be doing our first day back to school, they're like, oh, we have to do school now? And I'm like, well, you kind of were this whole time. You just didn't realize it.
Right.
Because it was a different person.
Right. So
yeah,
funny.
and he's more fun, so.
Well,
apparently,
we can't all be dad.
I know.
Well, I'm really excited because it's time for a break. So if you've been listening to the podcast at all, you'll know that I have been taking a class. And so my class is over. And while I loved it, it was a lot of work.
Did you get an A++?
Of course. In this level, it's called Pass with Distinction.
Ooh,
so
that's
I'm
cool.
very
Distinguished.
Yeah, not distinctive.
You're distinguished whether or not you get distinguished
it's the
by
grade
class.
streak.
Yeah.
It's very distinguishing. Anyway, and then Nutcracker happened last weekend.
How did it
It
go?
was amazing as usual. It was a lot of work, and I was.
And your daughter had a
exhausted.
bigger role.
Yeah, it was fun. She had a really good time. So, we had a blast doing that. And now we're just tired.
Oh, it's definitely.
And we love the holidays, and I love the busyness of it. I love all the cooking and all that stuff. And so it's nice to just be done with all the other commitments and to take a break and to be generous with our time. And so it doesn't matter if we open a math book, for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We're on break.
Or until February.
Right. This is character training. These are life skills we're learning. My kids are learning to cook and to serve others and to host generously and to love on their family, and that's ultimately what I'm instilling in them is the values that our family upholds. And so that's what we're doing. And then to just really dive into the Advent and to enjoy that teaching, you know what I mean? And so, there's still so much to learn. It doesn't happen all just from our curriculum.
Yeah, this is when we start our ELF week.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because we only do it for like 5 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then that way it's totally doable. You can be creative, and we rotate who hides the elf.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our last episode of 2021.
That's amazing.
It's so weird to even think it's 2021. I keep wanting to say it's our last one of 2020,
I
and
know.
I'm already a year behind.
I know.
Yes, it's been a wild couple years.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's jump into audiobooks. So I thought we would start with a brief conversation of the benefits of audiobooks. So a lot of these fall in line the same as the benefits of Read-Aloud, but they're not exclusive to a person who is physically reading aloud. It can be an audiobook, so it's a listening experience. So it helps children develop listening and language skills, including literacy immersion, and we've talked about that in our reading challenges episode. Literacy immersion is just getting them to experience words, language, vocabulary, diverse sentence structures.
Yeah.
You know, if all they learn is very simple things, they don't have diversity. They're not really immersed in our language.
Yeah.
So literacy immersion, it's particularly great for second language learners. They hear it, they're immersed in it. And then for struggling readers, it takes away the visual component. They can really just focus on the vocabulary, the sounds that they hear, to be able to interpret it and not have the negative feelings associated with any of the challenges they're having with the physical reading.
Yeah, they can really enjoy it. Just enjoy a really good story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a huge we forget sometimes. We separate the physical act of learning to read from actual literacy. And that's too bad because we train out all of the stuff that's magical for kids. Yeah. It allows students to read above their grade level. So if their physical reading level is first grade, they can read books that are appropriate for them at almost any reading level. And that's wonderful for kids. They love that challenge. And then as soon as their skill catches up, they know this huge vocabulary and can catch on to it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It promotes healthy brain development, and it exposes listeners to exciting narrators, right? Because I might not be the most exciting read-aloud person, but some of these audiobooks have incredible narrators.
Yeah.
In fact, I have searched for audiobooks based on the narrator.
Yeah, well, you did that for Lord of the Rings, didn't you? Or Harry Potter?
No, well, so you got to Harry Potter because it was Jim Dale.
Okay.
And so I loved his voice. I loved how he encapsulated all of Harry Potter, all of the characters. And so I thought, what else does he narrate?
Yeah, what is it? Do you know?
I don't know, something that scared me. I started reading it and I was like, nope, this is not a book for Jessica.
Funny.
Yeah, it was scary and I don't do scary books.
Well, sometimes when I listen to audiobooks, I'm like, oh, this sounds just like the guy who did Narnia.
Right.
So it's kind of fun, and I don't always check who it is, but
I listened to so many that did happen. I was like, I know that I've listened to this person read a book, I just can't think of which one. And so I looked up that audiobook performer, and sure enough, they read a different series to me, and I'm like, I knew it.
And it sounds so smart when they have like a British accent.
Oh, I know. You sound so intelligent.
Yes.
So just like with read-aloud experiences, if you are doing audiobooks as a whole family, you get that shared experience. You get to all have, the conversations surrounding the books, and you go through the emotion of the book together, which is really neat. And it creates bonds and strong emotional connections to loved ones.
Yeah, the shared experience is awesome.
Yeah, if you need more information specifically about the benefits of read-alouds, which we translate to audiobooks as well, you can check out the Read-Aloud Family by Sarah Mackenzie. So, when to use audiobooks.
Okay, so this is the real part of
Here's the meat.
Yeah.
Yes, the meat of our hack. When to use audiobooks. When you're tired.
I know, it's perfect.
Girl, you do not have to read everything yourself. So if you love what a read-aloud can do for your family and your homeschooling, you don't have to be the one doing it all the time. Or if your husband's not enjoying it, your husband loves it, which is pretty cool. And my husband is reading, he's going through the Bible with my daughter right now, which is really neat. So I'm glad they're doing that. But I'm glad also that we can have audio experiences that don't rely on us reading the books.
Yeah, and I remember when we were doing Pollyanna not too long ago, I would actually, that was my break time, and I would lay on the couch and I enjoyed the book with them. And then every once in a while when I saw like a bridge to a teachable moment, then I just reach over with my eyes closed, hit pause, and then talk about it briefly, and then hit play again, and we'd keep going.
Totally.
It was such a relaxing time for me.
Right. And just like we often encourage kids during read aloud time to keep their fingers busy, you can do something.
Oh yeah, totally.
You can do something to keep
You
yourself
can get your
busy.
dishes done. You can do so
Absolutely.
many things.
Yeah.
And if you have a big speaker, like
Right.
so we have a big speaker, we Bluetooth it too. My kids will throw, like my son will be throwing a ball. My daughters will be playing with their Legos or
Right.
slime. And then I'll be working on something.
Chores.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like you said, just sit
Email
back and
even.
enjoy it.
Oh,
you know?
totally. Yeah.
So whatever it is, you can find the time to listen to an audiobook and not be the one holding and reading the book to your children, and get the benefit of having that hands-free time to do something as well. Another great place is in the car.
Yeah. We love it in the car.
Yeah.
It's such a good use of your time.
It is, and if you're at home and really immersed in a story, it doesn't have to stop.
Right.
You know, so even if it's the same book that you're choosing to read aloud, we've done this before where we read aloud together physically, and then when we needed to stop and get in the car, I got the audiobook and synced it up to where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did that with we did that with the Narnia series,
Right.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's an option. We have tons of other examples of how to utilize the car in episode 19, Car Schooling. So we talk about audiobooks there and many other things. But it's amazing. You have a captive audience, you know, and so find something to listen to that the captive audience will enjoy individually. So you can listen to audiobooks individually.
Yeah.
Your kids, if they're old enough to, you know, have a device, whether it's a CD player or an MP3 player or whatever, smart device, an iPad, they can listen to an audiobook. You can decide on the listening mechanism. You know, do you want over-the-ear headphones, earbuds? There's every option available to you, depending on your personal.
Or even a little miniature speaker in their room with their door closed. And what I like about the headphones, if you get the child ones, they have a maximum volume, so they won't hurt their eardrums. So and they have really cute. If you're watching YouTube, you saw pictures of ours. They have really cute ears, and they light up, and it's really fun.
It is awesome. And so your children can start pursuing their own book interests. Do they have a genre that they love, but the whole family doesn't share that same interest? You know, so you can do that. Let them explore a whole series. You know, I don't really want to listen to Goosebumps.
I know. I was just going to say, our girls are both into Goosebumps right now. And my daughter will literally just sit on the exercise ball and bounce while listening to it for a whole hour. It's amazing. And then she'll do like all these different like Pilates moves with this exercise ball while she's listening, as long as the cord is not too short. Yeah.
That is awesome.
I know. She's doing her movement and her strength building while listening. I don't even ask her to do it. I don't have to assign it. She just
That's what her body wants
says,
to
"Can
do.
I listen to my audiobook?" I'm like, "Of course. Yes.
Yes.
Yes."
Yeah, so it keeps my daughter reading almost constantly between writing and reading. It's all she's ever asking to do, and she's still 9.5, and so she's always asking, which is really nice. And at one point, we got to the point where she would just, as soon as she got in the car, put her headphones on. I was like, "Wait, I needed to talk to you about something." And she's like, "Oh," you know. So we had to have conversations about, you know, when to put on her headphones and all of that stuff. But
because there's good quality conversation you can have in the car as well.
Exactly. And then even for you, make your own list. You know, you have your own interests. And you probably don't need your kids listening to all of the books you want to read.
I know. Yeah.
I can't listen to Outlander with my kids.
Or Ready Player One.
Oh, no.
No, that definitely. And what's I think fun is, as I'm listening, I'm thinking of high school. When my kids are going to be in high school someday. Yeah. It's almost like I'm previewing that, and so then I can start curating a list for them for when they're in high school.
Right, that you have personally read, that you enjoyed, that now you might have a connection with them over. You know, it's really neat. So for individuals, for moms, I do like the Bluetooth, you know, so you're not attached to anything, because doing dishes and being attached to a cord is not easy. I'll tell you what. But, and then because I have the toddler at home, well, he's a preschooler now. He's almost 4. But the earbud, I only have one in, so I can still hear what's happening and be aware of everything in my house, but still get the benefit of listening to my audiobook. I may be slightly obsessed, but we'll get to that later. And so let's move on to how to get audiobooks. So this is the one that I think is the most important, because I have met so many people who didn't know you can borrow audiobooks from the library. So you can use the library apps. I say that plural because there are multiple library apps. I personally prefer Overdrive.
That's what we use.
But they commonly recommend Libby. I don't like the interface of Libby. And I kept thinking they're going to retire Overdrive and move to only using Libby. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't like Libby. I have it on my phone in case they ever need it, in case there's a book emergency.
Because there's plenty of those.
Yes. But I do really like Overdrive. And then Cloud Library. So one of my local libraries, I'm in San Diego County, and so we have our small cities, we have the county and San Diego City libraries available to us, and they're on different networks, which means they have different books available.
Oh, okay.
So Cloud Library connects with just one of them, and so I had to have that app. It's definitely not my favorite, but inevitably, if I can't find a book on Overdrive, I can go into Cloud Library and it might be there.
Yeah.
And I'm not on a wait list.
And what you do is on the app, you just search for your library system. And then you have to put in your library card number. So you need a library card.
You do.
And for about a month or two, I couldn't log in because we didn't know our library card. And then all of a sudden it logged me in.
I heard someone else having trouble with the login, so I haven't experienced that, thank goodness. It would ruin me and Sophia's lives.
I know, yeah.
But, no, we were fine. So that's the thing is I think Overdrive can be a little bit strange like that.
But, I mean, that's the only time it happened.
Right.
And I've gotten in so many more books this year.
That's
we were on another option you're going to mention next. We were spending so much money buying books to listen to, and so now it's so nice that there's so many free books.
And if you do have a long list of books going, if you aren't just spontaneously always trying to find a book, you know, if you have to be on a wait list for something, that's fine. You can pick another one from your book list, you know, but if you're trying to pair a book with something else you're doing and that book happens to be popular and unavailable, you might be out of luck. But the wait lists tend to go pretty fast.
They do.
So you're never on them for too long.
So I have to just plug having a co-op again because we were at the Wild Animal Park in Escondido, or the Safari Park it's called now, Safari Park.
Get it right.
And we're all talking as homeschool moms, our adventure day, and then you start saying, hey, you guys know you can get free books, right? On your library app. And we were like, what? And we're like pulling out our phones and so
that's funny. I don't remember that.
Oh yeah. And
changing lives.
There were like 3 or 4 of us.
That's so funny.
All doing that, taking out our phones and trying to find the app and saying, is this the app? And you're like, oh yeah, you guys didn't know. You know, you've been doing this for, you know.
Right.
And so it's like, wow, if we didn't have that co-op,
right.
Who knows how long it would have taken to figure this out. We would have had to listen to this podcast.
Right.
So just another plug that you never know the benefits of referrals for whatever.
For sure.
By having
listen
a co-op.
to your friends.
Yeah.
Listen to people who are experienced because there's so much stuff you don't know.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff I don't know. I'm still learning.
Yeah, it's so nice because it's all give and take.
Absolutely. So there's of course Audible, and now Audible, they do have some free things, whether or not you have a subscription. So you can find a couple things here and there, but they offer a subscription plan. So you pay a certain amount per month, and there's different tiers of how much you want to pay, and then that amount turns into a credit. So the lowest amount is just 1 credit, and 1 credit is any book. So I actually did Audible for 1 year, and I did the lowest plan, so it was $12 or $13 a month for that 1 year because I was collecting some big classics that I knew we would listen to multiple times. And I found some killer deals. So a couple of other little tips here. The Chronicles of Narnia, if that's something you're interested in, comes as a bundle. 1 credit.
That's so cool.
It's
amazing.
like a $40 audiobook collection that I got for 1 credit for $13.
That's awesome.
And then I collected all of the Harry Potter books, and each one retails for like 18 or 20, and I got them all for the price of my 1 credit per month, which was $12, $13. So there are some benefits, and then while you are a member and have a paid membership through Audible, you get a big library of other free books to read. They're not all bestsellers or books that might be on your genre.
Or maybe they're like 5 years old. Or
Right.
Yeah.
But there was plenty, and I was impressed at some of the lists. I listened to Little Women, you know, and I didn't plan to, but I saw that it was a free one. I was like, yes. And Laura Dern read it to me, I think.
Oh, that's
it was
cool.
Yeah, it was just random.
Well, one of the books we just listened to was not available at the library. They didn't even have it.
Right.
It's not even like I could put it on hold, which was shocking. But it was on Audible, but it was free.
Oh, nice.
Exactly. So I still got the free book, but I definitely had to jump from my favorite app of Overdrive to Audible.
Yeah, so I definitely juggle my apps. I juggle my 3 library apps.
Well, it's like Amazon and Netflix and Disney Plus.
When you're looking for something to watch, sometimes you have to go through all of them. So same idea. But I do like the Audible, and it's there. So if you can't find something, and then just real quick, I pre-ordered a book that just came out 2 days ago.
Ooh.
And so I got my big notification that it was here,
How fun.
downloaded it, and now I'm almost done. So it's awesome. That's what I listened to on my way here.
What was it?
Oh, it's The Last Shadow by Orson Scott Card, who wrote the Ender's
Oh,
Game
Ender's
series.
Game?
Yeah, so it's the final book of the Ender's
series.
series.
I still need to do the next one.
Yeah, so anyway.
Yeah,
We'll talk about books another day.
Yeah.
But I've been waiting for this for a long time,
so
which
fun.
means Outlander must be coming out in the next week or two, because I know they were really
So funny. Oh my goodness.
So I gotta finish this, because
You totally do. You totally do. Yeah.
But I had to buy those because I knew the library wouldn't have them, and I had to
Or
have
you'd
my
be
books.
waiting like 6 months.
Ugh, who has time?
Yeah.
Anyway. And then you thought of this one. I didn't think about it, but this one's really important too, is that you can still get audiobooks on CDs. So whether you are buying brand new ones or going to the library, the physical library, still has physical audiobook CDs or books on tape,
And
as they
sometimes
used to be called.
in their used section, you can
Yeah.
get a lot of books on tape that you can buy for like $1.99.
Totally. Our local used bookstore has a ton of them too, and like old classics. I'm always tempted, but I know I don't need them on CDs when I can just borrow them anytime I want from the library.
So what I did was at the Great Homeschool Convention like 6 years ago or whatever, Jim Wise was there, and he's a great storyteller and narrator of all these books, and he was there, and at the time it was called Great Hall Productions.
Right.
But now he's with Well Trained Minds, so there's been a merge of some sort, and he had a whole table, and I got the Billy Goat's Gruff and Good Luck Duck, and then I got his multiple fairy tales, like different, so many volumes, and he talks in such a way that isn't overwhelming.
No.
It's not too much inflection.
And it's not boring either.
And then my kids would we keep a CD player in their rooms, and it's literally a modern one, and I'll link it on the podcast page.
Yeah.
You screw it to the wall, and they just pull the cord down, gunk, and it turns it on. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it's just this little tiny box with the CD, and the CD actually, you can see it spinning.
That's so cool.
So I had to teach my like 3 or 4 year old at the time,
Right.
not to put her finger on it, but my kids follow the rules pretty easily. So,
Right.
But it's so they would turn it on at night, and they would listen to his stories, and then when we wanted to migrate to Story of the World, which is what he also narrates, that was easy to do because they knew him. He was like a friend.
Right.
He would
It
tell
was a
them
trusted
stories.
voice.
Yeah. And it wasn't overwhelming. That's what I liked too. The sound of his voice was really
So cool.
well, yeah. So I still have those CDs. I'll pop them in the CD player in the car. And some of them are 5-minute long stories. Some of them are 20-minute long stories. So
Yeah, and the CDs are great for in the car if you don't have an audio hookup for your smartphone or other devices. So if you can't use anything digital in the car, there's still CDs. So there's really no excuse not to listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
So then I thought we would end with a few of our own personal recommendations about audiobooks that our families like.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
So I would say my biggest tip for this hack is if you have multiple kids, pick a book that can appeal to all the ages.
Right.
And then they all will listen. And so then also, if they're really good in-depth books, then you can like bridge to parenting discussions.
Totally.
And so I've had some really great experiences with the kids doing Wonder recently, and I've mentioned this before by R.J. Palacio. or Palacio.
Palacio. That's my grandma's maiden name.
Oh.
Palacio.
And that one was like, it's an amazing book. And it was so fun to really get to parent them. And then I've used examples from that book multiple times because it was a shared experience. But we always listen to it in the car. Right. Or we listen to it with me laying on the couch and them playing. Right. And it's been a really great experience for us. So multiple ages and good parenting discussions. And Wish is very similar. Wish by Barbara O'Connor. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of parenting discussions you can have in that, just nice organic parenting. But my really fun recommendation, it's called our Read-Aloud Family Journal, but you can use it for your read-alouds, but you can also use it for your audiobooks. Right. So we just got this. It's like a $5 book, and it's for your 100 books that you either read aloud or you audiobooked aloud together.
That's so cool.
And so, we just finished Wonder. And when we finished Wonder, you go into the page, and that was book 3 on our list now. And each kid told me I could have had them write in it. You could either give it to your child who listens to a lot of audiobooks. Right. And then they can keep track of their own audiobooks. And I'm just going to hold it up here, and we'll link it on the podcast page. But, and then they can write what they thought about it. And then you could do a little activity, like when my husband did the Pinnerwicks. They each came up with their own motto. Nice. And so it's just fun to be able to look back and see, oh, remember we did this book, and you might not remember otherwise all the books that you did, or your child who does it independently, listening, may not remember. Wow, look at all the books I did.
Yeah, it's like a little time capsule.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to keep growing this book of ours.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So my recommendations are, I'm going to say it again, is to give yourself a book list, because I like to alternate. I can't stay in one genre for too long, but I love nonfiction. I love biographies, historical fiction. I love fantasy, young adult books. Mm-hmm. And then I also want to make sure that I'm reading for my kids. Mm-hmm. I want to read books to be able to say, if she reads it, it's fine, but I'm not going to highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. Especially there's so many more books now than when I was a kid, because there's new authors and new things. And so I haven't read all of the books for her age level. And so it's just a neat way to do that. Or I listened to books that she was physically reading at the same time, so we were still talking about them.
That's so cool.
But that's because I kept them on my list and I knew to go and get it. Mm-hmm. So I like Goodreads. I've got my phone I'm showing you. We've got the app. And then we'll link my Goodreads account on here on our show notes for you if you want to follow me. But I have my book list, and it gives me the opportunity to create digital bookshelves, which I love.
That's so cool.
And so I have my want to read list, which I can go through from time to time. Oh, yeah, I saw that book at the bookstore and thought it looked interesting.
Or someone recommended this to me.
Right. I can put it in my phone right then and there and make sure that I go and look for it. And then I know it's the right one instead of taking some random note and being like, I can't find that.
Totes.
And then when you read them, it'll show you a list of all the books that you've read for the year. And so this particular year, I've talked about this in another episode. So real quick, I made a reading challenge for myself, and I set my goal to be 50 books. I am now at 71.
Wow.
So I know, it was our summer. We did our summer book reading episode. Yeah. And so I was just about to meet my 50 books, I think, and now I'm at 71 because I'm just
audiobook. And someone was asking me, when do you listen to audiobooks? I'm like, in the shower?
In the shower.
I put it on. My kids don't come into my bathroom. My kids are old enough. They don't care to hang out with me in the bathroom anymore. Like, a PTL, right? And so I put it on while I'm in the shower. I have it at the sink while I'm getting ready in the morning. And then at night, if I'm having trouble falling asleep, I'll hit play. And then you can set a timer for like 15 minutes or 20 minutes so you don't go too far if you do fall asleep. Right. And it's just a really great way to use your time efficiently. And what I like about what you're saying about pre-reading, Marcus does that too with the audiobook as well. And you get to see if it's worth the time to be a shared experience.
Exactly.
Or if it should be independent, or if it shouldn't even be, like you said, recommended at all. But if you're going to do a shared audiobook, you really want it to be worth your time.
Right. So it's nice to have that sort of vetted, and then you know when to pull their attention because you did already read it. And, it's definitely not necessary. There's definitely some books you can just read aloud as a family, and it's okay. But it's a nice opportunity if there's a book you're on the fence about or just wondering about maturity and ages.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't pre-read stuff like my husband does. But like for Wonder, I knew that not only was that on our unit study recommendation list, it was also recommended by Sarah McKenzie Read-Aloud Revival. So in cross-referencing the list, I knew, okay, that's probably a good enough recommendation for me. Yeah.
So my final recommendation for audiobooks is, since I have a little guy, I know a lot of people are concerned, but what do I do with my toddler? Listen. Let them listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't need to get books that are geared towards toddlers.
Right.
Most of the up through the middle grades, they shouldn't be too overwhelming if they're read well. Even if the content's a little bit scary, it may not hit them the same way as visually seeing it on a screen.
Totally.
So my son, he was listening to Harry Potter when Sophia and I were going through them, and we were doing them together. So he listened to the first 3 books with us in the car and he was only 1.5 or 2 then. Because it wasn't too much for him.
It's not visual imagery.
Right.
And same with Maisie, she's been little since the beginning too, and she would just wander in and out of the room too. Like she paid attention when she wanted to, and then she came in and wanted to hang out with me while in my room and quietly play Uno or something.
And it's perfect.
Yeah.
So I don't overstress the little guy, and then you never know what really speaks to them. We did Black Beauty as a part of our co-op last year, and every time we got in the car, are we listening to Black Beauty now? Aww. He loved it. I don't know what he'll retain from it long term, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
The fact that he connected with the story, was intent on listening to it, and could talk about it at 2.5 last year.
Yeah.
That's really great.
And it's one of the few ways little kids can be part of the shared family experience. Everyone ages like 7 and over can share with other like board games and whatever. But for a 2 or 3 or 4-year-old, they can't really have their own game piece at the board. They always have to be on a team, but this is their own thing they can be part of.
And it doesn't have to be the baby version, so that we go to their level. You don't have to, while that is a good thing sometimes, they can also be included. It's that whole idea of like, stop thinking that your kids are not able to be more mature than they are. And I don't mean content-wise, but just with this.
Well, just like picture books, a good picture book appeals to all ages, not just a little kid.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to get past this specific segregation of books and understand that the recommended ages for those books are just that.
Yeah,
the recommendations,
it just might be,
not limits.
Yeah, like going back to Wonder, it's a 5th grader. So I knew my 4th and 5th grader would probably relate to the conversations, and it was still actually older because he was going into traditional school.
Right.
But they could relate to it more. And so that was a great time to read that book.
Exactly.
So.
All right. That's what we've got for audiobooks.
Yeah.
Now it's time for
the Coop
Q&A, where we answer your questions. If you have a question you want us to answer, head over to the podcast page on our website, thecoophomeschool.com, or email us, mamahens@thecoophomeschool.com. Today's question: I've decided to homeschool. What do I do now? It's a good one.
Yeah.
Mandy, how do you answer that?
Well, first, of course, you have to figure out
what it means.
Like, you have to register with the state or not register with the state. However you have to move forward with that, it's different per state.
Right.
But once you've done that, some people just have to notify, hey, I'm homeschooling, and that's good enough.
Right. You just tell the school district.
Yeah.
In other states like California, you have to physically unenroll them from the school by talking to the school. They may ask you for things you don't need to provide, but they'll try and bully you into staying. And then you have to either file to homeschool privately with the state. So you let the state Board of Education know, or Department of Education, or you join a public charter school, and then you can homeschool through that.
And we have the homeschool hub at the coophomeschool.com. You can check it out. It's called the hub, and we show different states and the requirements.
We
for
can
that.
walk you through more of that process in depth. But so you've done that part.
Yeah. So now what?
What do you do?
Yeah.
How do you know where to
it
start?
kind of feels like you could be flailing.
Oh,
so
for
we
sure.
have this awesome Homeschool Starter Pack, Volume
look at that.
1. And I'm showing Volume 1 on our video. And it's a short packet of 5 steps. And they're all little worksheets that you can work through. Step 1 is your homeschool mission. Step 2 is your plan, and we help you brainstorm your plan. Step 3 is getting ready with a space for your homeschooling. And step 4 is helping you find curriculum, kind of just kickstarting that process for you. And step 5 is helping you explore independent learning activities for your children. And then we have some extra things we give you, like a Let's Plan Together questionnaire that you can give your kids. It's like an interest survey.
Yeah.
And then some resources for these 5 steps. And then we also have a volume 2, but you definitely want to start with volume 1, and it's totally doable. It's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it actually would be a great record for you to have to look back on even 5 years from now,
Totally.
just to see your thoughts and with starting this new adventure.
And Mandy, where can you get this?
Oh, well, you can get it at thecoopHomeschool.com at our store. And you just click on our Etsy shop and you can order it as a downloadable, and then you can print it and
print the pages you want.
Yeah. So it's a fun little pack, and I was just talking about this with one of our friends who's been homeschooling just as long as we have, and I was showing it to her, and she said, "Oh, well, actually, I could do most of those pages now and be greatly benefited by them."
It's never really too late to do these kinds of things and really get in tune with your homeschooling.
And every couple of years,
intentionality to what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's inexpensive, and this is a nice, easy way to do it without buying like a big book.
Yes.
Yeah, or searching a bunch of blogs, or we've got it all handled.
It's not
for you.
disjointed. It's in one spot.
Thanks for listening. We love your support. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave a rating and review to let us know how we're doing, and share our podcast with your friends who need a little community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling.